Have you ever found yourself, waking up in the middle of the night feeling restless and just thinking, this is just part of getting older? That exhaustion, it just seems to stick around day after day. But what if that common belief, well, what if it's missing something important? We often blame age for poor sleep and nighttime wake-ups. And yeah, age plays a role, sure. But our deep dive today kind of challenges that simple idea. The surprising thing, based on the insights we're digging into, is that the real culprit might be these really common, seemingly harmless habits, especially the ones right before bed. It's pretty fascinating how simple things we do without thinking can affect our prostate health so much.
Exactly. We've really dug into some specific insights here from a source that's seen this pattern repeatedly. They talk about these silent stressors on prostate health. These are habits lots of men just don't connect to the problem, but they can really add to discomfort, bad sleep, and just the overall health of the prostate.
Right. So our mission today is to unpack these surprising habits. We want to break down why they matter and, crucially, give you some practical things you can actually do about them. Because as our source points out, prostate enlargement isn't just inevitable. Often, it seems, it's made worse by these nightly routines. So let's get into these 7 silent habits. Okay, let's kick things off with something maybe we don't think enough about. Drinking water at night. We all know staying hydrated is good, right? Essential, even. But what our source really zeroes in on is when you drink that water, why the timing is so critical, especially as we age.
Yeah, the key insight here is that your body's excretory functions, they naturally slow down as evening goes on. So if you keep drinking a lot of water or maybe tea, even herbal tea, or perhaps take your pills with a big glass of water right before hitting the sack, you're basically putting your bladder on overtime. And if your prostate is already a bit enlarged, that extra pressure, it becomes a much bigger deal. Leads straight to waking up multiple times to, well. And every single time your sleep gets broken like that, your body misses out. It doesn't get to produce those key hormones it needs to reduce inflammation and repair tissues. And that includes the prostate tissue itself.
That's interesting because you often hear, a warm drink, it helps you sleep. But actually, it's just filling your bladder at the worst possible time.
Exactly that. Now, the solution isn't cutting back on water. Overall, definitely don't do that. Hydration is vital. It's about shifting the timing. Try to get most of your fluids in before, say, 6 p.m. And then really try to avoid liquids for about 2 hours before you plan to sleep. And if you take medication at night, it's worth a chat with your doctor. See if maybe that timing could be adjusted a bit.
Right. So letting the bladder rest gives the prostate a break too. Less irritation, maybe? And hopefully that deeper sleep everyone's after. Okay, that idea of interrupted sleep. It ties right into the next habit, which again, seems so innocent, lying in bed, watching TV for ages. Feels relaxing, doesn't it?
It does, but there's a hidden downside. From a physiological standpoint, staying in one position for a long time, like lying still, watching something, it limits blood circulation to your lower abdomen. That's right where the prostate is. Slower blood flow means less oxygen, fewer healing nutrients getting to those tissues, and that slows down the body's ability to reduce inflammation and repair cells. Plus, there's the blue light issue. We know screens emit blue light, and that messes with your melatonin production. Melatonin is key for deep sleep, and deep sleep is when your body does most of its repair work, including for an irritated prostate. Our source actually mentioned a pattern they saw clinically. A lot of older male patients with nighttime urination, sleep problems. They admitted using screens right up until they tried to sleep. The source put it starkly. Every extra hour spent in front of the screen is an hour their prostate loses the chance to rest and recover.
Wow, that is stark. Puts it in perspective. So, okay, knowing that, what's the practical fix? How do we change that?
Well, the advice is to gradually shift your habits. Set a limit. Maybe turn off the TV, tablets, phones, everything, at least 30 minutes before you actually want to be asleep. And find alternatives, maybe some gentle stretching, deep breathing, or just, reading an actual physical book, something to help the nervous system wind down.
Simple things, really. But they can make a huge difference for sleep quality and giving your prostate a chance to heal overnight. Makes sense. Okay, number 3 might catch you by surprise. Sleeping while constipated. I mean, who connects digestion with prostate pressure like that? Seems like a stretch.
It does sound a bit odd at first, yeah. But our source calls this an unseen pressure point, and for good reason. Think about the anatomy down there. When stool builds up in the colon, which sits really close to both the bladder and the prostate, it creates, direct mechanical pressure in the lower abdomen. This pressure pushes on the prostate. It can increase that urge to urinate and just generally stimulate the bladder all night long. Plus, a full intestine means less room for the bladder to expand, so even a little urine can feel like a lot, making you wake up often feeling like you haven't completely emptied. And there's another angle. Chronic constipation can actually reduce blood circulation in the whole pelvic area. That impairs the prostate's recovery ability, especially in men over 60.
Cleaning up your diet isn't just for your gut then. It directly eases that physical pressure. We're talking things like more the leafy greens, maybe some fruits like kiwi or prunes, whole grains, that sort of thing.
Precisely. And don't forget drinking plenty of water, but during the day, remember habit 1. Also, a short walk after dinner can really help stimulate digestion. And if things are still sluggish, maybe consider talking to your doctor about magnesium or a fiber supplement to help get things moving regularly in the morning. The goal is really to be cleared out before bed.
Because clean bowels mean a less crowded abdomen, less pressure on the prostate, better sleep, fewer trips to the bathroom. It's all connected. Create space, like you said. Speaking of bathroom habits, number 4 is another simple one. Our source highlights as surprisingly important. Skipping that last bathroom trip before bed. So many of us probably think, I don't really need to go. I'll hold it till morning. Big mistake, apparently.
It can be, yes. The insight here is that not emptying your bladder before sleep leaves residual urine behind. For older men, especially if the prostate is already enlarged, this creates constant pressure on both the bladder and the prostate while you're trying to sleep. This leads to irritation, potentially inflammation, and definitely more wake-ups. There's also an increased risk of UTIs, urinary tract infections. Stagnant urine is just, well, a breeding ground for bacteria. That just complicates things further, and it makes that feeling of incomplete emptying more likely, which, as we said, really disrupts that deep restorative sleep your body needs.
Right. So the solution is, well, pretty straightforward, actually. Just be proactive.
Absolutely. Make it a non-negotiable routine. Always go to the bathroom before you get into bed, even if you don't feel a strong urge. And don't rush it. Take a minute, sit down, relax, take a few deep breaths. Give your bladder a chance to release everything it needs to.
Seems so small, doesn't it? But doing that consistently could really cut down on nighttime bathroom visits and lead to much better sleep. Okay, let's talk evening snacks. Habit number 5, eating salty snacks at night. You know, the chips, the crackers, maybe some processed meats. They seem like a harmless treat. But our source points out some hidden risks there, specifically for prostate inflammation. How did that work?
Well, salty foods make your body hold on to extra water. It's basic physiology. This water retention increases what's called hydrostatic pressure, basically the internal fluid pressure in your system. This puts more pressure directly on your bladder and, by proximity, your prostate, which, again, leads to more nighttime urination, more disrupted sleep. And we keep coming back to this. Disrupted sleep denies your body those deep recovery phases where inflammation naturally gets reduced. There's also a broader link. A high-sodium diet often contributes to high blood pressure. High blood pressure can weaken blood circulation, including to the pelvic area. If the prostate doesn't get good blood flow, full of oxygen and nutrients, its own natural healing and anti-inflammatory processes just can't work effectively. And a lot of people consume way more sodium than they realize. It's hidden in so many foods.
Okay, so if we're trying to snack smarter in the evening, what are some better choices? Things that won't trigger this?
Look for light, low-sodium options. Things that are maybe even naturally anti-inflammatory. Think pumpkin seeds, maybe a ripe banana, unsweetened yogurt perhaps. Things that are easy to digest and generally good for sleep and bladder function. And definitely get into the habit of reading food labels. You'd be surprised where sodium hides.
Right, it's the cumulative effect, isn't it? It's not one bag of chips, it's the habit over time. But the good news is small changes here can really start to reverse that trend. Habit number 6. This is one we might do completely unconsciously. Sleeping on your stomach. Many people do it without a second thought. But our source suggests it can cause real issues long term.
Yeah, sleep posture is fascinatingly important. When you lie on your stomach, essentially your entire body weight is pressing down on your lower abdomen. This directly compresses the bladder and the prostate. It's straightforward mechanical pressure. This pressure can reduce blood flow in the small vessels there, starving the prostate tissue of the oxygen and nutrients it needs for repair. Over time, this constant pressure can also directly trigger that urge to urinate during the night. And it doesn't stop there. Sleeping on your stomach often leads to misalignment in the spine and tightness in the hips and pelvic floor muscles. These areas are all connected to urinary control. So this can contribute to symptoms like trouble starting urination, a weak or interrupted stream, or that nagging feeling of not emptying completely, all affecting sleep quality too.
Okay, but the good news here is that posture is something we can change, right? It might take effort, but it's possible. What's the recommended alternative?
Yes. Absolutely changeable. The recommendation is generally side sleeping. Especially sleeping on your left side seems to be beneficial for circulation in the lower abdomen. A simple trick is to put a small pillow between your knees. This helps keep your pelvis aligned and takes some pressure off. And if you find yourself rolling onto your stomach automatically, try using a body pillow or even just placing some regular pillows strategically as a sort of barrier. It can help train you to stay on your side.
Makes sense. Sleep is supposed to be healing time. So finding the right posture just creates better conditions for the prostate to relax and recover naturally, giving it the space it needs. Okay, we've reached the final habit, number 7, and our source calls this one maybe the most impactful. Going to bed stressed. It's kind of invisible, isn't it? Stress. But it seems to have this really powerful negative effect on sleep, the immune system, and prostate health too.
It really highlights that strong mind-body connection. When you're stressed, your body flips into fight or flight mode, the sympathetic nervous system takes over, your heart rate goes up, blood vessels constrict, and importantly, your cortisol levels spike. Cortisol is the main stress hormone. Now, stress affects everything, but our source really emphasizes its damaging effect on the prostate. It seems to directly fuel inflammation there. Plus, chronic stress messes with your immune system, disrupts hormonal balance. It can even contribute to lower testosterone levels, which is itself linked to prostate issues over time. And the reality is so many people, especially older adults, carry their worries and anxieties to bed with them. Their bodies just never get a chance to truly deeply rest and repair.
That's a tough cycle to break.
Yeah.
So how can we actually do that? How can we calm the mind before sleep, especially when life throws so much at us?
It doesn't have to be complicated. Even simple intentional actions can make a big difference. Just a few minutes of deep breathing exercises, slow inhales, slow exhales, or listening to some soft calming music, maybe journaling, just writing down whatever's on your mind to get it out of your head. Basic relaxation techniques. These things help calm the nervous system, shift you out of that fight or flight state, and guide your body towards deeper rest. That creates the ideal conditions for the prostate to heal overnight.
It's clear stress is like this unseen enemy, but it has very real consequences. But the power to manage it step by step really does start with these small actions before bed.
So now that we've walked through these 7 habits, you might be wondering, okay, how do I actually track this stuff? How do I make this awareness stick? Well, our source does mention a practical tool, particularly helpful for men over 60. It's described as a prostate health tracking tool, essentially a specialized app designed with seniors in mind, apparently. It helps you log things like how often you're getting up at night, your sleep quality, any pelvic discomfort. And it can also send reminders to help maintain those healthy habits we've been talking about, supporting your prostate health day to day.
Right, and the benefit seems pretty clear. It makes it easier to spot those small changes or patterns you might otherwise miss. You don't have to rely on memory or scribbled notes. Just a few taps each day, and you start to see how your body is responding to these different habits. And having that objective data, that could be really useful when you talk to your doctor, helping figure out the best approach for you.
Yeah, exactly. They did mention, though, that to ensure they can provide good support, they limit the number of new users each month. So if it sounds interesting, acting sooner rather than later might be a good idea.
What really stands out to me listening to all this is that these aren't just theories. These insights come from real-world experience, working with thousands of older men who genuinely saw improvements by making these kinds of changes. That really speaks volumes about the power of consistent, small actions, doesn't it?
Absolutely. If we were to summarize the core message, it's this. Small, gradual shifts in these everyday habits, your water timing, screen time, snacks, sleep position, managing stress, they all add up. They can make a huge difference over time. By making these adjustments, you give your body the chance it needs to recover naturally. You take pressure off the bladder, you help calm the prostate, allowing it to heal more effectively while you sleep.
And you really don't need to feel overwhelmed, thinking you have to change everything all at once. That's not the point. What matters most is understanding what might be affecting you personally, and then making those small, steady changes. Finding what fits your life, your routine. It's about progress, not sudden perfection.
That's a great way to put it. Your body isn't asking for perfection, it's asking for consistent care. You don't need some extreme overhaul overnight, just making one intentional positive choice each day. Little by little, that's how recovery can happen, naturally and in a way you can actually sustain.
So we hope this deep dive has given you not just information, but maybe some inspiration too. Inspiration to take active responsibility for your own well-being, night after night, with every choice you make before you sleep.